Hey friends, welcome to Sisters Unfiltered. We are excited to be here today. We're very excited about our episode, but before we jump in, can you just like, comment, share, whatever you need to do to get the word out about Sisters Unfiltered. I think we're getting a little bit maybe too comfortable. Last week we went on a total
tangent.
Usually we have somewhat of a plan.
Yeah.
And last week we went on a little tangent about massages. So if you want to go listen to that, go ahead. So that was our last episode. But
it was great though. I mean, if you can track along with us, I guess.
Well, at one point we were just laughing so hard that we couldn't even talk.
I know it was bad, but whatever. I have a feeling some people are going to get it.
Yeah.
Some people will get it.
Yeah. I hope people tell us. So tell us if you totally agree with our take on massages.
Yeah. I told my dad's wife Sharon, I was like, Sharon, this episode's gonna be great for you, but you're not going to see eye to eye with us because she is a massage often person.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not a right or wrong. It's just a preference.
Yeah.
That's
so
all it is.
If you're wondering, just go listen.
Yeah. But we're super excited about today. I think it's episode 33. I'm pretty positive, and which is crazy to think about.
Crazy.
And we're a little over a year old. So, but we're so excited because we have a guest, obviously.
Yay.
This is Jeremy Self. This is Ashley's husband, my brother-in-law. And we are so excited to have him today. And we are going to talk about a topic that I've actually had quite a few people ask me about.
I know. And people are like, hey, you guys need to talk about this on your episode. And we just haven't. We originally were going to have our brother talk about it. And then we went in a different direction because you guys met our brother and Derek, Lindsey's husband.
Yeah.
And we talked about business and stuff. But we were like, well, we'll wait on this topic. And then we thought today would be a good day.
Today's a good day.
I think that Jeremy's a good person for this topic.
You. Yes. So introducing none other than Pastor Jeremy Self. He used to be a pastor. Yes. I feel like he still is a pastor in a lot of ways, but just in the marketplace now. And his role is not pastor as much anymore, but Jeremy can talk more about that. So just kind of what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So I was in full-time ministry for 20 years and then felt the Lord calling me into business and transitioned to become a financial planner. I own part of our business. I'm a founding partner of Cedarwood Financial Partners and had that as my day job. But my heart is that my business would just be an economic engine to fund kingdom work. Yeah. So like Lindsey said, still have a heart for ministry and pastoring, just allowing my business to be the way that it's funded instead of working vocationally in a church.
Yeah, which I think is so cool. I tell people that. I mean, I definitely think people are called to ministry vocationally, but I also think that you can still do ministry even if it's not your only job, your full-time job. I mean, I feel like Derek and I are just as involved in our church as someone else is who does it. I mean, obviously not as much because I feel like vocationally you're there a lot, but I feel very much so like we're able to do ministry regardless. So I think you can go about it both ways.
Yeah, but, and I think you also are in people's lives in a different way than someone who's a full-time pastor or on staff or something like that. So it's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And you get to meet probably a lot of people outside the church, actually. Yeah. I think when you're in vocational ministry, you probably stay somewhat meeting people in the church who come to you in a church environment. But this is probably a good way to meet people who might not know the Lord at all.
Yeah.
So anyway, super cool. Yeah. But have we even said we're going to talk about today?
Oh. No.
So we're going to talk about the Enneagram. The Enneagram. So there are going to be Enneagram lovers who listen to our podcast, and then there's going to be people who've never heard of it. Yes. If you have listened to multiple episodes of ours, you've probably heard us mention it, but I was just at church last Sunday, and because I was helping with worship, and there was people in the green room with me that have never heard of it. And I was like, which I will say, this was like a teenager. So I was like, okay, I get it. But it's kind of crazy when I hear people who've never heard of the Enneagram. So I guess, Jeremy, you need to explain what the Enneagram. Jeremy knows a lot about the Enneagram. Obviously, this is why we had him on here.
Well, first of all, a lot of people haven't heard about it. But when did we first hear about it? It was probably 10 years ago. Jeremy and I were adding it up. And I was like, oh my gosh, we've been talking about the Enneagram for 10 years. Do you want to talk about what it is? Then we can kind of all share when we first heard about Enneagram and that sort of thing.
Yeah, sure. So the Enneagram is a personality assessment that basically is based on how you showed up in the world sometime between the ages of 4 to 11. So how you interacted with the world in that time really shaped you into how you're relating to life in general. Yeah. And it's how you might show up in business or whatever. Different than the DISC profile or Myers-Briggs. I would almost kind of put it in this analogy, like if you had a rock band that has a bass and a guitar and, you know, there's like 4 instruments, that's going to give you one kind of music. And that's what I would say Myers-Briggs and DISC does. But with Enneagram, I would say you have an orchestra. And you have
that's a good way to put it.
So many facets of the orchestra that can make all different types of music. And that to me kind of makes up, and Stephen Burton and we were just talking about this yesterday. That was kind of an analogy that was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, we're not so pigeonholed into you're a high D on the DISC profile. Or you're a, EF whatever, TJ or whatever the numbers are for our letters for Myers-Briggs. You can morph and change around on the Enneagram based on whether you're stressed or whether you're relaxed or lots of different things. So
like simply, what is the Enneagram?
Yeah. So it's a personality assessment tool and a self-awareness tool. So based on 9 numbers.
Yeah.
1 through 9, and you could have a primary number and whatever number's next door to it could be the wing or the neighboring number that you lean towards on the regular. And then there's some other nuances to it that we'll dig into a little bit. But
so we want to find out what all the numbers mean and everything. But do you remember when you first heard about Enneagram?
I do not think it was 10 years ago for us.
Yeah, it was probably longer.
No, I feel like I didn't hear about it 10 years ago. Do you think?
Yeah. Well, so
because if you think about
we all
10
found
years
out
ago
about it together.
So one of the resources that I would recommend that for someone that's never heard of Enneagram is a book called The Road Back to You by Ian Morgan Crone. And in that book, it was released in 2017. So almost
I guess
10
so,
years
because
ago.
if you think about it, Mom has been gone for 4 years.
Yeah.
And it'll be 5 years in September, right?
Yeah.
So I guess you're right, because it was way before Mom passed away.
Yeah.
So that just feels like crazy.
I think the first that we all heard about it was Derek and Wade and Dad all have Square Cow Movers business, their company, and they had a business coach who introduced them to Enneagram, right?
Yeah.
And took them through the whole assessment.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And then it kind of revolutionized. I don't know why I have a hard time saying that word. I was trying to say it the other day on the phone. I couldn't say it, and I just switched words. And so,
I was tracking.
But like kind of just honestly did so much for them personally and for their business, because there are 3 of them all in lead roles, and just kind of just really made such a mark over 10 years ago. And then Wade, I think mainly just because that's his personality, and I mean, you talk about somebody who loves Enneagram, brought it to the family. And on a beach vacation, we all took it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right?
On our way to vacation.
On our way we took it, and then when we got there, we literally had multiple conversations around the kitchen, around the table, while we're playing games about Enneagram. Now, just the adults took it. I don't think we really let the kids at that time
because I don't think they were old enough really to take it. Yeah.
But that was the first time I'd ever heard of Enneagram.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all too?
Yeah, no, I remember taking it. I remember taking the test because it was a big deal that you take the one that costs money and not the free one, because the free one doesn't assess you as well, which is what I tell everyone.
And it only costs like $10.
It costs like $10, yeah.
I think it's 15 now.
Oh.
Inflation.
10 years, $5.
But honestly, I will say that I think overall there's 24 now with Shep. 24 people in our family now. And it really has helped, I think, understand each other.
For sure.
And all that kind of thing. And it's something that our kids all know about, like from the time 10 years ago. You talk to them about Enneagram, they probably know as much as we do. Yeah. Like they all know. But So was that the first time you had taken the test too?
Yeah, that was the first time
Okay.
I took the test. And I'll tell you, like, I've had experiences with Myers-Briggs and DISC where I'm like, yeah, that is me, you know. And
Yeah.
I
love personality tests, first of all.
I
love
well,
them.
it's
I think they're
such
just so interesting.
I think
They
it's
are.
so important, you know, like at the end of the day, you're only as good as you are self-aware.
That's
And
true.
So if you lack self-awareness, you're going to likely come across as destructive in your relationships with other people.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how you're showing up, and
Yeah.
people don't receive you in the way that you think they should or whatever, because you just lack that awareness.
Yeah.
So why was this one different?
So
because you've probably taken, how many personality tests do you think you've taken? We've taken them.
Yeah.
So many even before Enneagram because of like being in seminary and ministry and all that kind of thing.
For sure. So how this was different, number one, it dug into a little bit of the origin story of why you might be this number. And some of that resonated with me because it was related to some trauma that I'd had as a young person, growing up in a broken family. And then some of it, though, was focused around this idea of justice. And I was like, I don't know. Like I was telling Ashley, like, I don't know. Like, I'm not really feeling that. Like, that doesn't resonate with me, you know. And she's like, are you kidding me? Like, you know, look at Ella in the back seat of the car. Like, you were the one that wanted to bring her home. You know, you were the one that
Once you made that decision.
We're standing for that justice piece, you know?
Yeah.
So that she just helped me to see it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is me. And this is, you know, why I am showing up as this number.
Yeah.
So.
I would say too, I think like of all the people that are on the Enneagram, I feel like it really like Wade, it made such an impact on him. He just said it just read his mail in good and bad ways, I think, because there's some unhealthy and healthy things about our numbers. Right. But also I feel like for you, I remember you were reading the book that you suggested and you were like, you had to stop.
Yeah.
Because it was like putting words to you that you had not ever been able to put words to before.
Absolutely. And I think that's what Enneagram does for most people. I think it gives you insight into your life in a way that nothing else can. And to me, I tell people all the time, like, this has been the single greatest self-awareness tool that I've ever used. So hopefully that will be kind of helpful, you know.
Yeah. I want to say too, before we jump in, like, people say a lot of times like, oh, I don't believe in the Enneagram or whatever about the Enneagram. And I'm like, well, if you're putting everything into one personality test or one thing, of course that's unhealthy and imbalanced. But what you said is it is a tool. And that's what these personality tests are for. They're not like I'm boxed into this one thing forever and I can't change or be better or whatever people think. No. But it is a tool to help you and know yourself in relationships and those sort of things. And so I kind of just wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know what I mean? When it comes to something like Enneagram.
Enneagram is one of those things that when you start reading about it and you start reading about people's numbers and then you start putting people with that number, you can't unsee it. You can't. Yeah. And because it really does start making sense.
Yeah, it really does.
Like, I would love to know someone who has truly read about the Enneagram or read like descriptions of people's numbers, found out that a person has that number. Tell me if you cannot see how those connect. You don't put them in a box. You don't have to. Right. And it doesn't mean that everyone can't grow and learn, but it's just literally like you're all the time. I'm like, that's an Enneagram 9 for you, because Derek is Enneagram 9. Like that, you know, like, you're an Enneagram 9. It gives you actually more grace for people and like compassion and like understanding on how to work with each other. Whereas like, I think these other personality tests don't always do that. I don't have a lot of experience with personality tests. My only experience with the personality test was from when Derek and I took it at Church of the Highlands in Birmingham. And I got my results, and Derek said, you done lied on that test because you took that test wishful thinking. You answered every question how you think you should be.
Or how you want to be.
How you want to be, but it's not actually who you are. Yeah. And I was like, I did. And so the Enneagram.
That was like your first step of awareness
Yes.
that you're like unaware.
I was like, oh my gosh, you're so right. Because honestly, when someone gives a personality test, they actually should say that.
Yes.
And they probably do, but whatever.
Sure.
I didn't get that memo.
You were so young.
We were so young, but I'm like, tell them to take the test like truly how they would do it, not how they think they should do it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, anyway, so when I took the Enneagram test, I was constantly saying, no.
Mm-hmm.
How would you handle this or whatever? Or what does it mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, I just like the Enneagram for that in itself. It's actually helped me even, I feel like, with my relationship with our second born.
Yeah.
And I've said this because there was one summer where me and him butt heads and I was like, what is happening? Like, we just have never had that. And all of a sudden it hit us that we think he's the same Enneagram number as me. That was before he took the test. He took the test and he is. And it just clicked for me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh. Like, if he's the same as me, I have to parent him a little, not differently, but just according to his personality a little bit. And it helped a tremendous amount.
Yeah.
Just
Really
knowing
does.
that. And that was all through the Enneagram.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
For sure.
So I love that it's a tool.
It
to
is.
help
It
us.
is,
But
for
let's
sure.
go over the numbers. Like, just
Yeah.
in simple terms, kind of go over what those numbers stand for and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and maybe I've got some slides I can share with the
Oh,
podcast
okay.
host here.
Oh, wow.
and
Wow.
They can
Stephanie.
We
Yeah.
could put them on
like,
our,
put 'em
you need
on-
to send
yeah,
them.
on-
We'll put them on social media.
So the first number is the number 1, and it's the reformer. The reformer is, we'll dig into it. The second number is the helper.
Okay.
Third is the achiever. The fourth is the individualist.
Mm-hmm.
The fifth is the investigator. The sixth is the loyalist. The seventh is the enthusiast. The 8 is the challenger. And the 9 is the peacemaker.
So 9 numbers.
So 9 numbers.
What'd you
that
say, Ashley?
9 numbers.
Oh, I thought you said
numbers,
9.
yeah.
9 is the worst. I was
No,
like,
no,
wait,
no.
what?
No,
9
so
numbers.
9 numbers. So if you hear someone say I'm a 1 on the Enneagram, they're saying I'm a reformer, or some people might say perfectionist but I think the reformer is a little more redemptive, and perfectionist could come across as like, oh, that's negative.
Yeah.
Even though they want all things good in the world, so so we can talk about each one of those and kind of break them down, or if you have other questions.
No, let's do that. But
Okay.
also just so like explain kind of how numbers can be healthy and unhealthy too. I don't know if we're there yet.
Yeah, sure. So numbers have both a light side and a shadow side. So you can be an unhealthy one, or you can be a healthy one.
Okay.
And the healthy side might mean that you are prone to do things in a certain way, and the unhealthy side means that you're doing it in an unhealthy way.
It's kind of like when people say like your greatest strength can be your greatest weakness.
Correct.
Right? Like that could go
Yes.
either way depending on how you show up.
That's right. Yeah. So for instance, like the 1 is the reformer, that perfectionist tendency. They're principled, objective, ethical, hardworking, structured, reliable, conscientious, quality-minded. They're motivated really by the need to perfect themselves and others around them in the world. So everything they look at, they're thinking, how can this be better? I think the person we all know most and was Donna, and y'all's mom, who was a quintessential 1
Yes.
on the Enneagram.
Yeah.
And when she passed away, I just was doing some reflection, and I've said this about her for ever since then, is that Donna just made everything better.
Yeah.
And
True.
that was her 1.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was her 1.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't matter. I always knew she was going to come to our house, and we were going to spend money because she was going to do something that was going to improve our lifestyle, but it was better at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so
I feel like 1s too, like they can't help but walk into a space or meet people or whatever, and that's how they think.
that's right.
They're like, how can this be improved? Now that definitely could be not great if you don't know how to handle it well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that kind of goes to the health and the unhealth. The healthy side is that they're improvers, and they make everything better. They have an eye for how to make things better, more effective, develop, stronger. But the unhealthy side, they can become micromanagers. They can be that negative side of perfectionists, where they really just obsess about things, obsession can lead to procrastination. Because it's always got to be better.
It can also lead to anxiety.
Yeah.
Because they don't sleep well, because mom used to struggle with the stress of, if she had a task, a project.
Yes.
She would not sleep well sometimes the night before, because she just wants it perfect.
That's
and she obsesses over it.
Yeah.
We think our daughter Ella is a 1. She hasn't taken the test yet. She's 15. She probably could now. And she tends to be critical. So very positive about the positive things, but very critical about the things that she thinks
doesn't think
should be different.
And that criticalness on the unhealthy side comes from that is critical of themselves first and foremost. And that bleeds into being critical of others. So because they see all the imperfections, like anything that's truly not good in the world, they see it in themselves or in other people. And so the 1 is a powerful force for good in the world.
Aren't they rule followers?
For sure.
Like hardcore rule followers.
But not for the sake of following the rule, but because they see the rule as good.
Yes.
And they want to do what's good.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's definitely a nuance to that person and to those people.
But 1s are great. They get things done.
For sure.
They're normally very organized.
Very organized.
Yeah.
Yes. They're great.
So let's move to the 2. The 2 is a helper. They're warm, giving, people-centered, sacrificing. They praise people with a lot. They're a lot of times maybe have a gift of encouragement. They're inclusive. They're empathetic, yes.
Well, that's
empathic,
with our words
empathic,
today.
yes.
Empathic.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, and they're just in general lovers of people.
Yeah.
They are motivated by the need to be needed, liked, and appreciated.
Yes.
So there are people that's
just like people pleasers.
Yeah.
Or can be.
They can be, right? And so on a healthy side, they offer humility to themselves and the world around them. They're generous with their time, their talent, their treasure. They're supportive. They take care of themselves. On the unhealthy side, they can be flattering and manipulative as they have a sense of giving to get something, and they're motivated by a deep belief that they don't deserve to be loved just for who they are. Okay. So this is a really important thing. I think it's also, we can say every number has their chief sin. Yeah. And Ian Crone digs into that in The Road Back to You a lot.
Which is faith-based, by the way.
Right, yeah. And so I always remember like the chief sin of the 2 is pride. Because
and you wouldn't think that because they're servants.
No.
Right, exactly. Yeah, but it's the pride of like, I've done this, now look at me for what I've done, you know, like that kind of sense. But
are 2s enablers?
Sure.
Would that be under a 2 category?
Because they're serving.
Yes, right? because it ends up being about them unintentionally.
Yeah, that's right.
And so they enable someone else.
They can enable to come in and be like, they saved that person.
Any number can be an enabler, but the motive behind it, and that's what a lot of...
But we have more tendencies,
I
think.
do.
Yeah.
I would think
numbers.
2 would be a little bit more like that.
For sure, but the motive and the driver are going to be different on different numbers, and that's really at the heart of Enneagram what it's all about. It's what's the underlying motive that's kind of fueling this behavior that you have and how you showed up. So, all right.
I can't help but think of people.
Me too.
Every time. When you go through every number, I just start thinking of 1s and I think of 2s.
Oh, me too.
Absolutely. And you think about, that would probably be a caution for anybody that's just getting into Enneagram, and even for those of us who have done it, is trying to prescribe that this is someone's Enneagram when they haven't assessed themselves.
Oh yeah, because we've been wrong before.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. You can think you're something or think someone else is something, but you don't realize how they can fall into different, like even the wings, like it's weird.
It's nuanced.
There's multiple numbers can crisscross like into making you think that it would be this, but it's actually
That's
this.
right.
Right?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So type 3 is the achiever, and the achiever is ambitious. the word that I most associate with the 3 is efficiency. They're adaptable. They're typically very driven people. They're competitive and results oriented. They are doers by nature, and they're extremely image conscious.
Yeah.
I know, because I always think of that. You said achiever as your first word you think of, and I know that's how it describes type 3. I always think they're charismatic.
Yes.
Almost always.
Yeah. And that's motivated because their primary core motivation is the need to be best.
Yeah.
They want to be the best. They want to win. They want to avoid failure. They want to look good in front of people. And so this is the 3, that there's a healthy side to that, and that is that when they're healthy, they're highly flexible and they're willing to adapt to achieve the goal that's in front of them. They're hardworking, principled, and they receive offering gifts of hope and integrity to the world. The unhealthy side, they can put too much emphasis on what they do or accomplish or who they are. They can become workaholics because they are that driven personality. They can be manipulative to get the goal that they want to accomplish, and they can be this insensitive chameleon type where they will just kind of go along with what's ever happening to blend in so that they can have influence in the room. So the achiever can be an extreme powerful force in leadership, and many CEOs would be 3s on the Enneagram, and there's another number that a lot of CEOs are, but you find that to be true, and that's a fascinating number. So and we know that 3s can also they can lack awareness in that piece of being insensitive, very much like an 8, and we'll talk about that. But they can make statements, and just to move the ball down the field, and somebody might ask them, like, did you see how it hurt so and so in the room when you said let's go or whatever? And they'll be like, I didn't even know so and so was in the room. Right. Like, do
you think that are there certain numbers that are more unaware than others?
I think that there are, anytime there's unhealth, there is a sense of lack of self-awareness.
Right. But are there numbers that lean more towards that?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
It's just a thought.
Ashley, I was just wondering.
Are you saying 3s might lean more towards
maybe
that?
3s, maybe 8s.
I think 3s. Oh, 8s. The only reason why I think 8s is, okay, we can get to that. But the reason why I wonder about 3s being more like that is just because they care so much about their image. Right. So sometimes I think that they can create a narrative in their heads telling them they're a certain way just because they care so much about what they look like, which might not be very aware of actually how they are.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I wonder if 3s could lean that way. Anyways, moving forward.
Yeah. So the 4 is the individualist. This is the number I will admit I understand the least.
I just met one the other day.
A 4?
Yes. I literally said, I said, I have never met an Enneagram 4. And I even wondered if one of our girls is a 4, but I lean towards her not being now, the more I know about her. And she actually took an assessment at school, not Enneagram. And I was like, oh, you're actually more like me than I thought. So I'm like, you're probably not a 4. But I've never met an adult 4.
I know.
I think they're few and far between.
Literally, they're like the unicorns, right?
Yeah.
And the type it's well suited. It's called the individualist.
Yeah.
So they're original people. They want to be the ones who are romantic and this empathic, self-aware, purpose-driven.
They're like deep feelers.
Deep feelers. Emotional, right?
Yeah,
a little bit more
very
emotional.
Expressive, often artistic, and it doesn't mean like drawing art necessarily. It could
like
be
creative?
writing, or could be. I've heard it said, like, if you've ever gone to a Four Seasons hotel and walked in and seen the beautiful flower arrangements and the artistry that created the environment, that was probably done by a 4. It's like the people that kind of think about how is this going to help everyone have a better experience.
Yeah.
You know?
They're kind of feel everything probably.
Feel,
it's all like the flowers.
correct.
It's because it came from a feeling of creating that.
They're motivated by the need to express their uniqueness and authenticity and to go deep with people. So you talked about deep feeling. They want to connect at a deep level with you. They probably are, close talkers and, like those kinds of things. On a healthy side, they appreciate beauty and creating, meaning, imaginative, innovative, sensitive, and content with who they are. They are really focused on authenticity, and they want to be authentic to themselves and to the world. They're very comfortable with quiet. A lot of 4s are introverted, so they're comfortable being alone and being quiet. On the unhealthy side, they can feel misunderstood. They can be melancholic, even temperamental, maybe in some ways, like they're driven by their really acute awareness of their faults and their flaws and, their own weaknesses. So 4s, again, I don't know any personally that I think
it might be the
of.
only number we don't have in our family that we, right?
I think that's right.
I think so. Yeah.
So
you know this person.
Tell me after.
I'll tell you after.
I thought this was Sisters Unfiltered. No, just kidding. No.
Don't worry, I've wanted to name somebody for every number, and I thought that's too much.
So anyway, 5 is the investigator. The investigator is the person who has to get all the information. That makes them very wise. They're kind of sage-like. They're perceptive. They're curious. They're unsentimental, self-sufficient. They're inventive. They're very private.
That's what's funny is they're investigators, but they don't divulge what they have learned.
Yes,
That's right.
And they don't want people up in their business.
No. So
our dad
like
is a 5, so we know this about him. Grayson, our son's a 5.
And I'm like, you know so much stuff, and unless we pinpoint Dad and like literally ask him specific questions, he's not going to volunteer any of the information he knows, but he knows it all.
Yes,
he
and
does.
don't ask him. We can ask him, but
Yeah.
a lot of people
No. Don't ask him about his life. Really, don't ask him.
The funny story about that is that the bank that he had banked at for 25 years, he went through the drive-through one day, and I don't know if you remember Redbox movies, but we would get a DVD that was from a Redbox machine, and he had one in his passenger seat, and the teller asked the question, "What movie is that?" And he was so offended that they asked him personal information that he changed banks.
Yes,
he did. Yeah, he changed banks and is now in with this bank. Now he's been with this bank for a while. But I mean, I guess they've never asked him any personal questions because he'd be like, "See ya."
It's real.
Yeah.
And all the other 5s I've known that are like they are the same.
Yeah. And when he told us the story, he was so serious, and we all got
He couldn't believe
tickled.
it. He couldn't believe it. He
Yeah.
was like, "Can you believe they asked me that?"
And
we were like, "What's wrong with that?" Like, so sorry if the teller listens to our podcast. But
But that's a 5.
So
That's a 5.
fives are motivated by autonomy and their need to know. Like they're the ones who need to know, and they want to understand what's going on in the world. Healthy 5s are visionary and they're mindful. They offer non-attachment to themselves and to others, and often can be scholarly. So if you think about like maybe education or things like that are valuable to them, they because they love the information. Right. The unhealthy can be stingy. They can be intellectually arrogant because, well, they're full of information.
Yeah.
So they can get disconnected from the heart. They can live in their head and be disconnected from what's happening in their heart. They can retreat in their mind to avoid being engulfed or intruded upon. So the 5s are really interesting. I think I won't remember all of the chief sins, but the chief sin of the 5 is greed.
Yeah.
And that could be withholding resources or information.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really helpful number to have in a group setting, in a team setting, for sure.
Yeah.
Because they can really help provide some insights that no one else has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So, number 6. All right. Well, let's gotta keep this moving, right?
Yeah. I've got more questions, but I'm
right.
trying to wait till we get through the numbers.
So the 6 is the loyalist. The loyalist is fiercely devoted. They have courage. They're prepared. They're competent. They're trustworthy. They're team oriented, and they're scenario planners. So what if this happened? What if this happened? Let's make sure we have a plan, a B plan, a C plan. That's the loyalist. Motivation, they're motivated by security and belonging, driven by a need to be safe and prepared. Their primary thought is there's some fear that motivates them to want to feel safe.
Yeah.
So in a healthy place, they're courageous and connected to a sense of knowing, like inner knowing, offering the gift of devotion and trust to themselves and others. They're committed. Like one of my mentors and friends is a 6, and there is no question about his loyalty to his friends.
Yeah.
And he is almost like overly loyal to a fault,
Right.
in some ways, but that's the loyalist. That's the 6, you know. In an unhealthy way, they worry excessively.
Yeah.
Their fears cause them to let down their defenses, and they get anxious and they get suspicious or paranoid or doubting. So having the 6 on your team, they can be, or in your family, they can be a powerful, great voice in your family because they can kind of see things that could happen and prevent them from happening before they do.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Let's go.
I heard too, I don't know if this is true, that 6 is the most common number of Americans. I don't know if that's true or not.
Interesting.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard that maybe the highest percentage of Americans is 6, and yet if I were, I think I've heard it said if I were to characterize America as a culture, that it would be a 3.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if that's true and how you would know that.
How the American psyche is set up is got to work harder, got to achieve more, got to go, and
image conscious,
willing to do whatever we got to do to make that happen.
Yeah.
Okay, the 7.
All right, the 7. This is the enthusiast. Some people call
so
it
fun.
Yeah, the visionary. This is someone who is going to be optimistic. They're going to be fun. They're going to be flexible. They're almost always going to be thinking forward in the future. They're adventurous. They want freedom and fun and spontaneous. They are visionaries,
Very positive people.
Very positive.
Yeah.
Hard to get them to talk negative because everything's great all the time.
It's all going to work out.
Their motivation is just that they would have fun. So they want to experience life to the fullest, and in order to do that, they need to avoid pain at all costs. So the discomfort is not in the way of the enthusiast. On a healthy side, they're very content, they're serene, they're able to embrace sobriety, they're full and present with themselves and the world. And if you ever talk to a 7, you feel very seen and heard because they're very present with you. And
I always think of 7s as like popular. people love to be around 7s.
Sure.
Yeah. They call him like the main character.
Right.
Main
Yeah.
character
You want the
energy.
main
Yes.
character in the room.
Yeah.
And when the main character's not there, everybody's bored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're
Yeah.
the ones that everybody invites to the party.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And as that fleshes out, it comes out in innovation and vision for different areas of their life. An unhealthy 7, this can be, impulsive. They can be uncommitted. They can be distracted, unfocused, never satisfied by that insatiable desire for fulfillment or that ongoing FOMO, the fear of missing out. They are constantly wanting more, and that gets played out in just a search for more. The unhealthy side can lead to addiction, and if you find that people are struggling with addiction, that could be the cause of it, because they're just searching for fulfillment.
Yeah.
So, the 8. All right. The 8 is the challenger, and I'll say that's my number.
I know. I was like, does it feel weird?
That definition, that is the worst word out of all of them. I feel like every word 1 through 9 is something, you can find something encouraging out of it. I feel like the challenger.
I feel like that's a good thing, though. I think you only think that because I might be you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that, though, for people who aren't that, they're like, great. I love someone who's going to kind of like go against the tide and like push a little bit, figure things out. And anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So the challenger is assertive. They're decisive. They're protective. That's part of the justice piece I was talking about early on. They're independent. They're influential. They're controlling. They're big-hearted under a tough exterior. I once saw a picture of a Barbie house and a castle of Grayskull, which is a He-Man. Remember back in the day?
Listen, I don't know who our audience is, but they might not know what that He-Man is.
And it was like the 7 was the Barbie house, and the 8 was the castle of Grayskull.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So it's like this exterior tough, exterior, but inside big hearts. Love challenges and really direct with justice. Their motivation is power. Mm-hmm. They want to be in control. They're strong, and they avoid showing vulnerability. That is part of the motivation, is to be strong and to avoid being vulnerable. In a healthy state, they're strong, deeply caring, approachable, and they offer, this is a weird word when it comes to this, I think, but they offer the gift of innocence to themselves and the world when they're aligned with reality. That's a big deal. In an unhealthy state, they're domineering, aggressive, lustful, and that lustful is not sexual lust as much as it is like, gotta have more. Mm-hmm. There's a sense of more, more, and that's in the unhealthy. They're kind of like the animal that like blows up and gets bigger when it's being attacked. Mm-hmm. That's when the world is threatening the 8 in an unhealthy state. That's kind of how they show up, larger than life. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
So that's, and I can talk all day about that because I know that number pretty well. But and
studied it a little bit.
Yeah, studied it a little bit. Okay, the 9, and this is the peacemaker. The peacemaker is agreeable, understanding, patient. These are all good words, right? Supportive, genuine, adaptable, authentic, real. They prefer to avoid conflict. Their motivation is to be settled and in harmony with the world.
Yeah.
So they want everything to be working together. And a healthy 9 peacemaker is self-aware. They are vibrant, and they provide the gift of right, sustainable action to themselves and the world. An unhealthy can be procrastinating, stubborn, and self-denying. They will go along to get along, right, with other people, but then when that strategy doesn't work anymore, then it's a big outburst, you know, so it's a blow up. So I'm going to go along to get along. And then once that point happens, I'm not going anymore. I'm digging in my heels, you know,
so to the extreme.
Yeah, for sure. So those are the 9 numbers, and we've talked about a lot.
You did great. Those are, that describes them wonderfully.
Perfectly. Yeah.
What about like a faith-based perspective? Because I think some people are like, Enneagram's weird, or it's not based in like, you know, a Christian worldview. But what would you say to that?
Yeah. So I would say that the Enneagram, from a faith-based perspective, I don't know where the origins of the Enneagram came from. You know, I think
hasn't it been around forever?
It's been around for literally hundreds and hundreds of years. Yeah. Some people trace it back to Catholic priests. Some people trace it back to mystics that are tripping on acid. You know, so I don't know where it came from. But here's what I believe and what I see in the Enneagram is that if I were to take a picture of God, I would see every one of these characteristics as true of him.
Yeah.
Right? Like, God is a defender and a justice. He's going to fight for those who are needing justice.
Yeah.
God is loyal. He's gonna be with us throughout everything. God is wise, all wise. He gets all wisdom. You know, he's the the ultimate knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, he knows everything. He's the reformer. Holy. He's holy. You know, so when I think about the Enneagram, I just think, every characteristic of the Enneagram is found in Jesus and who God is.
Yeah.
And so
you're like using that tool to pursue health.
100%.
Those are all going to be like Christ-like characteristics.
Yeah. I'm ultimately pursuing God, because if I want to be more like God, then I will become more healthy in that area. Yeah.
Okay, I do want to talk about this because it's so much about our podcast. We talk about kids and family and that sort of thing. And so, like, I love that Lindsey mentioned about her and Micah and how she kind of figured out his Enneagram number and how that helped really parenting him and have a relationship with him. We had a similar situation with our oldest Tyler, who, when we discussed, we thought he was a different Enneagram number. First of all, our mistake.
Thought it was a 4. Because he's artistic.
And very kind of individualistic.
Creative,
but then when he took the test, he's a 7. And we really started digging into what a 7 was. Like, it made so much sense. And I know for me, it really helped me have so much understanding of how God created him and how appreciative I am how God created him. It's very different than me, but it really helped me in parenting him. Like, honestly, if I look back at parenting, like, it was one of those times that was just such a huge wake-up call.
Yeah.
Like, this is how God made him, and this is how you can relate to him. And when he answers this way or makes this decision, this is why, you know? But when it comes to relationships, parenting, and maybe even in your marriage and stuff, like, how is the Enneagram helpful? I know we kind of hit on it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think the one word that comes to mind is grace.
Yeah.
Like, it allows me to extend grace to other people, because I now don't see their difference as a conflict with me, but it's now I have grace towards them to just understand them better.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily like an excuse.
Right.
So I think you have to be careful with that.
Yeah.
Always. With like, oh, that's just my personality. Oh, that's just my Enneagram number. Like, well, if it's not Christ-like, or if it's unhealthy, then no, you have to address that. But I do think it also helps with communication.
Right.
You know, if you have that language behind it, even with your kids. I know it's come up in just the other day. I think two of our boys were talking about a situation about another brother, and they were talking about personalities and like how this person handles things this way because of their personality. And I think that's a lot of the Enneagram talk that we've talked about for so long in our families.
Yeah. I think in marriage too, like, it does give you grace for each other, but then it also makes you be like, okay, so Derek is a 9, I'm an 8. We're going to handle things very differently. So like for me, like as an 8, maybe I would say different, but I'm not like just looking for conflict, which I do think some 8s are. Like, they want a lot of conflict. I'm not trying to do that, but it makes me feel this is what I've tried to explain to Derek. For me, peace is handling a situation or just like bringing it out. Like peace is let's talk about it, addressing. For him, because he is a peacemaker, that actually addressing conflict creates conflict for him. Right. So we're very opposite when it comes to that, but you learn how to compromise.
Yes.
Like you learn how to be like, okay, he's an Enneagram 9. That's not the way I would handle it, but that's the way he would handle it. And I'm going to be okay with that because that's just how he is. And I'm talking in a situation, it's not like a right or wrong, whatever, or like he can be like, okay, Lindsey's an Enneagram 8. Like she's going to be more outspoken, but maybe he can help me find the right words that it can come off a little more peaceful. Right?
Yes.
Even though because he knows how I can be more like abrupt and like just say how it is, but he can come behind me and be like, before you have that conversation, like maybe you like see how your words are. So I do think it helps you in marriage. Like if you can figure out how to compromise, because I think marriage is all about compromise.
Yeah.
And the ones that I see have the most problems, most of them is because somebody won't budge on something.
Yeah.
And so I think that you kind of learn each other's personality, and then you're like, again, my whole thing with Enneagram or any personality test is it doesn't mean you stay where you're at.
Right.
Just because you were.
That makes it an excuse.
It makes an excuse. Yeah. So even if I'm an 8, I'm an 8, doesn't mean that I can't learn how to have patience. Doesn't mean I can't learn that, hey, there are times when you need to keep your mouth shut. I don't say, well, I'm an 8, so that's just it. I don't have to keep my mouth shut. No. I still have to learn that. But I think in marriage, it's good because you kind of help each other. Like I probably push Derek to be more bold, and he pushes me to pull back because of who we are.
Yeah. And I think the very thing of like most couples, their Enneagram numbers are different. I would say most, not all, but it's kind of the thing that you're attracted to them when you're dating.
Yeah.
And so make sure when you get married that you're not like, oh, I'm so
using it
frustrated
against
about
them.
this personality. We're like, really, that's probably the person you fell in love with, and those are the reasons why.
Yeah.
So like I do think it helps with the communication and compromise in your marriage.
And I think if you read about Enneagram and you read about more and kind of figure out more about it, especially if you are having conflict in your marriage, it actually will help.
I think
so much. You're going to start being like, oh my gosh. Like you said, it just read our mail. Like it knows exactly who we are. And so it's like it teaches you on how to work together instead of against each other.
For sure. Right. Another resource I would recommend along those lines is the Enneagram Institute. It's a website, and it has...
I think they have Instagram too. I think you can...
That maybe,
I think so,
probably. Yeah. So there's a website you can go and you can see, like, if I'm a 7, here's how I relate, and I'm married to a 1. Here's how we're gonna relate to each other. Here's some things we need to watch out for. Here's some things we need to work on.
Yeah.
If I'm an 8 and I'm married to a 9, this is what I need to look out for. So or I'm in an office environment and these are my teammates or whatever. That Enneagram Institute website has all of those things, and I've went back to that as a resource over and over and over again over the years.
Yeah, so. I think too it's good to mention when it comes to kids, like we haven't let our kids take the test until later. One, because your kids are growing and developing. Yeah. You sort of said that number kind of is what 4 to 11, kind of how you show up to the world. I'm sure it has a lot to do with the family
some
you were
people
born
say
into.
as late as 14.
Yeah.
So
you're not born with it necessarily.
Exactly.
And so to be really careful about putting them in a box of like, you can see tendencies always with your kids, but kind of waiting until I would say teenagers to where they've kind of established the sort of person that they are. Yes. I think you can still talk about it, but maybe not just say like, oh, they're this. One, because we've been wrong.
And the fact that we have talked about this for a lot of years, our kids are so much further ahead in the self-awareness game than we were. I mean,
that's very true.
At 18, 19, 20, to be able to talk about yourself in a way that you know that you're a peacemaker or know that you're a challenger, I think it just gives you an advantage, a competitive advantage. Patrick Lencioni is a leadership author and business author, and he says that the number one job of a CEO is self-awareness.
Yeah.
And I think that you could plug that into marriage and family just the same. The number one role of a mom and dad is self-awareness.
Yeah.
That they know who they are, Because if they don't, then we talked about it. They run the risk of not showing up in a healthy way.
Yeah. And I do think one thing that we've had with the way our parents raised us was I do feel like mom and dad were very good about teaching us some self-awareness. I've had people say, like, because
they might just didn't use the same.
They didn't use the same lingo because
yeah.
they didn't know that's what it was. But I think they would have used it a little bit more. But like, I've had people tell me, like, conversations that mom and dad have had with me when I was in college. They were like, "You're so lucky that you had parents who sat you down and said, 'Hey, we see you doing this. You need to work on it.'" And I think that the Enneagram can really be a tool to help us. They didn't say, "You're controlling, Lindsey. This is who you are." They said, "We see controlling tendencies in you, and you're going to be married to Derek one day, and you can't be that." And so to how to work on it. And I think the Enneagram is a great tool for that. Now, I was in college. It was an appropriate time to have that. It was a time that I could grow. I wasn't married yet. So I think that there's times and seasons when we talk to our kids about that. I think Enneagram is a great tool for that. Again, as they're older, I don't think it's probably something, and again, what we said in this the episode about kids calling, you gotta be careful putting your kids in one box and pegging them for anything like right then. But to be like, I'll say it now, like, hey, your personality can tend to want to go this direction, but that's not necessarily what you need to be doing.
Sure.
Yeah. We need to work on this.
You're setting
them.
You're setting them up for success.
That's right.
So this is just a tool that can help them in business, in any type of workplace that they're in, with their families, with their spouses, in relationships with friends.
It can.
It's just something to help them. And I think with parenting, it's a good tool that you can have.
Yeah.
You know?
And self-awareness is huge.
It is.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like so much destruction and so much in healthy environments, church environments, family environments, everything. A lot of it has to do with lack of self-awareness and refusing to see anything else.
Yeah.
And the opposite is true. When you are self-aware, you're so life-giving.
Yeah.
Right? Because you are bringing your best and all the goodness that you have to offer to those around you. So
I think the reason why a lot of people don't want to be self-aware is because then they have to come into terms with the fact that they have struggles and
they have work to do.
And I think that where you have to be careful with that too is you can't be self-aware and destructive. Like, you can't be self-aware and dwell in the negative things about yourself. Every single person has negative tendencies. And so I can see how your mind would be like, if I live in reality of who I really am, then I am going to sit in depression because I don't want to come in reality to that. But that is not how the Lord wants you to be. Yeah. You have to be in reality of who you are, but then just choose a different direction. Yeah. It's your choice. Yeah. It really is. Your relationship with the Lord, and that choice can change the very next day if you want it to. But being not self-aware it can cause so many problems. So. Yeah, exactly. And I will never be someone who claims to be self-aware, because always I feel like the people who claim that are the most unaware, unself-aware people that I've met. Yeah. I've had people who are like, I'm a very self-aware person. And I'm like, no, you're not. So I will never say I'm very self-aware.
Yes, we can always grow in awareness.
We can, yes.
Okay, so just to end, I have some rapid fire questions about Enneagram. I know we could talk about this all day because we didn't even get to like the triad and all that stuff. Right. And maybe we need to do a part 2. I don't know.
Yeah, we might need to, actually.
I mean, we've only spent 10 plus years talking about it. We're trying to cram it in an hour
podcast episode.
Okay, so really quickly for Jeremy, and maybe Lindsey, you too. Most misunderstood type.
6s. 6s. I've not met many 6s that ever admit to being a 6. And so I think it largely, because their primary motivation is rooted in fear, they're afraid of what being a 6 might mean to them.
Yeah. I thought the most misunderstood is a woman 8.
That can be true. Yeah.
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 I don't know.
Yeah.
I heard that men have a hard time with women 8s.
I think that I can see it.
Right?
I mean, I'm an 8. I think that...
Well, because you have 8s that are a lot of bosses.
Well, yeah. I've said this about women 8s before. I think I've said it on our podcast. It's been a while. But I think that unhealthy women 8 become huge feminists. And I think they become...
like they're combative?
They're combative. I think what happens is women by nature feel that they should fall... When they that women should be sweet and kind and quiet and soft-spoken.
Yeah.
And I think that they're born, or whatever, you don't say born, but eventually they realize that's not who they are.
Yeah.
So they can either go one of two directions. Okay, that's not who I am, and I probably need to soften myself a tiny bit, which is what I think mom and dad did go with me. Or they go the opposite direction and they're like, oh, let me show you who I am. Yeah. I can wear the pants. I can make the money. I have a voice, and they become a problem.
Right.
And I think because they're not comfortable with who they really are, because they're bucking. They feel like they're going against what women should be. And instead of being able
they have to fight.
Yes. Instead of, I think, learning the balance that you can actually be an Enneagram 8 woman and be sometimes not say what you think or whatever. They feel like they have to walk in and roar loudly. Yeah. And that's where I think they can get misunderstood, but I don't know if that's misunderstood. I think they kind of choose that route.
Yeah. I always, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm an 8. I'd never have a challenge with understanding what a woman 8 is like, because I'm like, I get it, They don't
bother you.
They don't, but I could see where that might.
Yeah. Okay. What about the most common type you see?
I'm going to go to a 3. I just think, maybe it's because I'm in business and a lot of business leaders.
I feel like I see a lot of 7s.
3s. Okay.
That's because you're in church world.
I think so.
Maybe.
I think so.
You're around a lot of creatives.
When we were going through all the numbers, I was like, man, I know a lot of 7s lately.
Yeah. You could see, both of your environments could be that. Yeah. 3s in business, 7s.
What's the most common?
First of all, I'm a stay-at-home mom. We don't talk about that very often.
I know, but if you just have to think about it, do you have like a most common number? I think sometimes you build relationships around people that like I remember Wade saying he's a 3 and he has a lot of friends that are like 9s.
Yeah.
Like, I think you can, as personalities, kind of like, be,
I would say the top 3 that I see out of all of them would be a 1, 9, and a 3, probably in my world. Yeah. And even a 3 is more business people. I would say more. And then I would say women, or even like 2s, but I mean, I don't see a lot of 8. I'll tell you this much. I don't meet a lot of 8 women. Yeah. I don't meet that. And I will say, when I tested almost, Derek said I was almost equal a 1 and an 8, which is weird. I don't know how that could be. But so I am not a 1 though. I am not a rule follower. I'm not a perfectionist. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. And I know my brother thinks I'm a totally different Enneagram number. Yeah. So than even what it says I am.
So what type struggles the most with rest?
I think again, I'm going to keep
3?
going back to 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
1 also.
1 does struggle with
think
rest.
3s and 8s probably.
You don't think a 1?
1s, yeah. 1s
I think 1s
also,
do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Types that avoid conflict the most. Duh.
9s.
9.
The 9, the
maybe
peacemaker.
A 2.
Yeah, 9s and 2s.
And then, do you have like a word of encouragement for each type, quickly?
For each type?
Good Lord, that's a lot.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I think for all types. I think it's what we said before. Just because you're a certain number doesn't mean that you are stuck there. Yeah. Like in terms of, if you're unhealthy, you can be healthy. Mm-hmm. If you're healthy, you can be healthier.
Right. Yeah. And if you're healthy, you can still make some stupid, unhealthy decisions.
Sure. Yeah. But my encouragement would be just, know that you can grow. And
that's right.
Have a growth mindset. Like, I can get better in this version of myself. Yeah. And I can understand where I'm at. I can have, as we talked about, like, I might have a triad where I go to a number in stress, or I go to a different number in health, and I can have the self-awareness enough to know what's happening based on where I'm
at. So true.
Yeah,
the more you get into it, you can be like,
so I can grow in that.
Yes. Yeah. Like, I'm really struggling right now. Oh, I can see that I've hit an unhealthy part of this number because of being in stress. That's a whole nother thing. But if someone doesn't know their type yet, where should they start?
Yeah, so there's a tool called the Wagner assessment, and you can find it just by searching online, and pull that up and take it
Was it like 100 questions?
150.
Oh, 150.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't
But
take
it's
very
like
long, though.
one word
Right.
answers, and it's
Correct.
like multiple choice,
Yeah.
and you can click on the answer and figure out the definition of each
That's right.
one if you don't know.
Because some words are big words. You're
They
like,
are. I
what
clicked
does
on it
that
a ton,
mean?
and then I
Yes.
think actually we should do an Enneagram number on who clicked on
Yeah.
the thing and who didn't,
To describe
because
it.
I have a feeling that the majority of one number did not, and the majority of another
Yes.
did.
Yeah. Okay, so when people do find out their number, what do you think is a good next step for them to just learn more? I know we had mentioned a few resources.
Yeah. I think that the assessment itself is going to give you some tools that is going to recommend some next steps for you. And then I think you probably want to do some reading about it. That would be a next step to read
Yeah.
Ian Cron's book. I like that book because it's very user friendly, very easy reading.
Yeah.
There's some other work. Richard Rohr is a former Catholic priest, and he's written a ton about the Enneagram. There's you can go down a huge rabbit hole.
Following so many
Just
Enneagram
my-
Instagram accounts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you say his name's Ian?
Ian.
Okay.
IAN. Yes.
Ian. Okay.
Okay, well, this has been great.
Yeah.
I feel like
Thanks
we
for having
keep
me.
talking about it.
So good.
Lindsay's going to finish with our confession of the week.
Yeah.
Because we have this every time.
I know we didn't have one last week, though. Remember, because we
you
felt like the
said
whole episode was
whole
confessions.
So that's right.
It was. Actually, that should be the episode, confession of our lives
Yeah.
with children. So my confession of the week is, this is not really that big of a deal. It's not like a really shocking confession, because I feel like I always have shocking ones, kind of ish. Is that this week we're on spring break and we are here. And my confession is, I don't like being here for spring break. We did not grow up traveling for spring break.
No.
And so that was great. I was used to it. And then my dad has to go off and buy a house at the beach. And then I started going to his beach house for spring break. And then he decides to sell it. And now I'm spoiled because I want to be somewhere else for spring break, even though Austin's weather is actually probably better than majority of the places we have gone.
Yeah.
Last year, we were in Hawaii for spring break.
Well, I mean,
I'm
you just set the bar way
literally,
too high.
I know I'm literally getting all these Time Hop app pictures today from being all these places for spring break, and I'm here, and it's been totally fine, but it just feels weird. And I feel like that's so dumb because we grew up never traveling for spring break.
Yeah.
But I wish that we were somewhere else. So I don't know. But, the Hawaii was a dream trip. So, you really can't compare anything to that because that was not a trip that will probably, I don't know if we'll ever take something like that again.
Yeah.
Would love to take our grown kids to Hawaii one day again. But anyway, so there's my confession. It's really not that hardcore, but is anybody else here for spring break?
Yeah. I think people can relate.
Where we live, a lot of people travel.
They do.
For spring break.
Yeah,
so
that doesn't help.
It does not help. So anyways, all right. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you can comment on our YouTube channel.
We'll have Jeremy just answer all the questions.
And he can answer anything you have. But or if you we need to try to put some resources up there. But if we've missed something, please reach out. Yeah. But thanks for listening.
Right,
bye,
bye.
guys.